Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Missle Industries XB Found Fairmont Hardtop project, 351 Hardtop project. Now before I get stuck into what I've gotten up to so far, I need to talk about that hole in the plenum cowl. You know the one I mean, one that accommodates the windscreen wiper motor. Now this car was missing lots of stuff when I bought it, and it does need a windscreen wiper motor. Now I've been looking at these online for quite some time now, XC ones, XA ones, XB ones, and I hadn't really gotten that serious because they've either come out of wrecks that have been sitting in the bush for decades, and obviously they're weathered and there's no guarantee that they work. They're missing all the bits and bobs, there's no gaskets, no bolts, no arm to move the assembly. All that stuff is extra you'll have to pay for. And after I put the engine in the car and thought to myself, I'm starting to get a bit carried away with this car, making it look nice, particularly in the engine bay. So I thought to myself, I really don't want to put a sun-baked, partially flogged out windscreen wiper motor in there. And there were quite some nice ones on eBay, and for the sake of keeping an eye on them, I put a watch list on one, and I looked at it and went, maybe it'd fit, maybe it wouldn't. And then the guy that refurbishes them offered me a discount, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, I should probably go out to my car and see what wiring harness my car has to see if it matches the plugs. Now the first one I clicked on was suitable for an XC, so it has a remote washer and it has a 6-pin plug, and I looked at my XC over here and I went, well, it's definitely going to suit this car, but I need to check out the wiring harness in this car, because this car does have a wiring harness. In fact, I think it has 2 of them, and the one that's still attached to the car is this one here. Now feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that 4-pin plug there is the plug to suit the earlier model XA, XB wiper motor with the external washer motor attached to it. So I had to decline the guy's offer for his 5% discount on his refurbished XC wiper motor because it wasn't really going to suit me. So I looked at what else the guy had, and he had the 2 earlier XA, XB variants, and I clicked on the next one and watch listed that while I went to sort out what my options could be, and that was the XB one without the washer motor attached to it. And I thought, that might do the trick, but I think my washer motor for this wiring harness attaches to the wiper motor. And invariably he gave me a 5% discount on that, but it wasn't the one that I needed, so I found the XA one that he'd refurbished of the trio, and I watch listed that and waited patiently for him to offer me a 5% discount on it, which he did, and then I bought it. So it is sitting over here in this box, and it comes with full aftermarket support. I think he said there's a phone number I can call if I need to do technical support. But what I really want it to be is shiny and new and clean, fully refurbished and nice to look at, because I didn't want to put some busted out, sun damaged, crusty piece of shit on the firewall of my nice shiny car. So let's have a look at this thing, see if it is as good as it looks in the pictures. Bear in mind I'm probably not going to install this today, but I'm very curious to see what it looks like. Because what I really need to focus my effort on is getting the fuel tank from down here into the car, because once it's in the car I can think about starting the car, and I'm sure you'd agree that's pretty important, because I want to see if I can get brakes, clutch works, and whatever else needs doing to get it to run. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Whoever refurbished this has done a really nice job. I don't know if that's considered concourse standard or not, but this is not going to be a concourse car, but I do want this to go into there and not look flogged out. So cop a look at that. That looks fantastic. Now, as I said earlier, there's loads of these for sale online, but they're all very weathered and busted out looking. Obviously this has been destroyed. They don't age particularly well if they've been left in the blazing sun. They don't have here this gasket, they don't have the arm, they don't have the parts that you need to put it all together. So I could not see the sense in spending between $150 and $250 for an unknown quantity that was missing all its bits and would look incomplete. So I have lashed out and got this one, which is fully backed by the guy's auto electrical business that refurbs these. I should probably add that in addition to the XA-XB windscreen wiper motor with built-in washer motor, I needed to get the period correct bottle to suit that, because the bottle for the XC, and I suspect the XB that sits there with the built-in pump, would not do if I had my pump on my washer motor, on my wiper motor. So I needed to find a bottle to suit that. Now I'm not sure where that bottle is supposed to go in this engine bay, because obviously there's no bracket there to put the XC one in, and I don't seem to recall my other XB Coupe from all those years ago having any bracket anywhere in the engine bay to put a washer bottle either, and I just ended up putting one there on the inside of the wheel arch next to the overflow bottle. So I've bought the specific one, and here it is here, that I can just drop a rubber hose into and it will draw water from here to the washer motor and then to the squirters, which I haven't bought yet, but I will be doing soon. Squirters are regularly available, or readily available, for as little as $65 delivered, so should get some squirters at some point. But what I needed was the bottle and the wiper motor. So let's tuck this away and I'll tell you what else I've been up to. Because last weekend I turned that GoPro on that you're seeing me on right now, and it was flat. So rather than wait patiently for the GoPro to charge, I went ahead and did other stuff. Now, since I was in the mood to do a bit of pottering around, I thought to myself, maybe I'll start filling up some of these holes on the side of the car. Maybe I'll grind off some of those rivet heads to tidy the car up a bit. So that's what I did. I initially knocked all the rivets off this door here. I've been putting spray putty on the door every afternoon after work to fill in the divots where the grinder took away the primer. There was a big divot out of the paint right here on the roof, and it's one of many imperfections on this roof, but since I've got a little bit of spray putty left and days and days and days to just puddle paint into it, I thought I'd just do that. So I'm going to smash some more paint onto this door here, and then I will be done with tonight's episode of putty therapy. And there's where I've welded up holes for those I think it's XB GT fins, So those holes are all gone. And I've also taken out all the rivets along the sill here. Now, oddly enough, the sill on this side of the car had the rivets, but the sill on the driver's side doesn't have the rivets. So they're all gone. I also welded up a couple of holes that were there to locate whatever trim this door had, which doesn't correlate with anything else on the car, because these doors obviously didn't start their life on this car. They've been added in by somebody else when they picked up the shell all those decades ago. So the doors don't match each other, the trims don't match on the doors. So this one had a trim hole there and a trim hole there, which I've welded up, which brings me to this horrendous right rear guard. Now, I've addressed this before, but this guard is a frightful mess. Now, I'm going to have to probably buy a Rare Spears or a Astle Design right rear guard repair section for this, because that is toast. It looks horrendous. It's been badly repaired on the inside as well, because it all feels like it's been welded up with a gas torch. Whatever the repairs were on this car, it predated whoever owned its access to a MIG welder. So they've done the best they can, and it's pretty shite. So it's probably been sideswiped at some point, and as a consequence, you can see how thick the bog is there, because obviously I've welded these holes up as well. I had to burrow through the bog to get to them for a clean weld. So this will need to be redone, and as I pointed out earlier, there isn't a single rivet on this sill, so someone's already had a go at it, doing whatever was that necessary for the repair at the time, but pretty sure that's all bog. Sill, other than the back of it, feels pretty good. So for this episode, what I think I'm going to do is work on the rust holes I'm about to show you in the boot. So what I think I'll do is grab that light from inside the car and show you what I have done so far. Now, the boot has a bit of rust in it. I've moved the welder down this end of the car because obviously I need to weld on this end of the car. Boy, does it free up the space at the other end of the car where the engine's at, so that's been super handy. Got to grab my torch. So what we have here are a minor hole there and a fairly major hole over there. Now there's a bit of rust over there as well, and there's a bit of rust over there where the rear quarter meets the boot floor pan. Now I'm pretty confident I can cut a chunk out of one of my spare panels and fix that up, and that bit there I will cut out and fab something up to suit. I'll have to do that bit up there as well. You can buy this entire section new, but I really don't want to unpick that whole section, including the support for the rear beaver panel, and then weld the new section in. I want to do it the backyard way and just cut sections of metal that I have lying around the property and just make it work. It's interesting that those holes there correspond with the muffler proximity to the floor. Does that mean the mufflers have heated and compromised that metal over however many years this car was driving around for? It seems like they must have gotten very hot to do all that damage. But if I weld those up, and I weld that section up over there, tidy all this up over here around where the wheel arches are, basically plate up all this stuff in here. My next step after that will be primering. Something's on the roof of the garage. The next step will be to get all this in primer on the inside of the engine bay, possibly even some green, drop the tank in. But for the sake of this episode, what I'm going to do is fix that rust, plate it up, weld it in, and once I've successfully negotiated my way through that, I'm going to call it a day and wrap this episode up. So that's where we are at. Now it's time to cut to fabricating. Yay, fabricating, which will probably be on the weekend because right now it's Tuesday. So, see you in a minute. Great news, it's the weekend and it's actually 5 PM on a Saturday, so I have done a bunch of stuff this afternoon and I haven't recorded a single thing. But, I'll give you an update on the progress. I cut this seam out between the rear inner quarter and the boot floor, and as you can see from the state of it, it was pretty rusty, and I thought to myself, surely I can pinch a piece of metal from somewhere to fit that gap. So what I did was I cut channel out of this very rusty guard, that bit there, and then shaped it to suit, and now here it is, welded into the gap here. So I had the piece of metal for the inner, which was still good, and obviously the rest of this is still good too. It's just where they overlapped in rusty Ford spot welded metal fashion, and it just expanded and rusted out. So I've butt welded that all along there, butt welded that along there, and I've tacked it along the underside as well. I should probably show you that. There it is, all tacked up underneath as well, and obviously this inner quarter isn't in the best state, and there is still a lot of work ahead of me as far as this car is concerned. But this iteration is the get it on the road iteration, not the nut and bolt restoration iteration. So everything that needs to be attended to will be attended to. Everything that I can ignore will be ignored. I should probably cover what I've done late this afternoon. So I have also cut out all the rusty metal around that side of the floor pan, and my plan, which is probably going to be tomorrow, is to use this piece of 1.5mm guard offcut to cut the piece that needs to go into there and then weld all that up. I haven't cut that bit there out yet, but I'm going to try and do that tonight before I run out of time. It's 20 past 5 now, so what I might just do is cut that rectangle piece out there, so tomorrow I can hit the ground running and make up a bunch of plates and hopefully weld them in without too much drama. And as the sun sets, there we go, I've cut out that other hole there. These seams really are not the greatest. I could get carried away digging that one up right to that top seam there, but there's no gaping hole, so I'm just going to pretend that it's fine and pick this up tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully I can get those plates mocked up and tacked in by the end of play tomorrow. Hello, it's actually 11:15 in the morning, and the stuff I usually get done on a Sunday morning is taken care of. My wife's out, so I've got time before lunch to mock up a template, maybe cut the metal and see if I can get it to roughly fit into there and see how much finessing it's going to need. Sacrificed some cardboard from the kitchen to make my template, and I'm pretty happy with the way that's gone. Well, that sits in there. And I have also taken my guard offcut traced that onto it. So all I need to do now is cut that guard out, and there is enough metal on this guard for me to get this wrong at least once and have a second attempt at it. So that's good. But first up, I'll cut that out. Hopefully these curves work in my favour and I can make this work. Alright, that's my preliminary cut done. Let's see how far off the mark I am. Let me bend that so I can curve it in. Have that work at the bottom. Yeah, I'll do that. Pretty good. I left an excess along this line here in case it was too narrow, so it looks like I'm just going to have to buzz all that off to get this to work. Maybe even take that corner off as well. Pretty happy with that. So after much cutting and shaping, I've decided I'm just going to send it and tack it in at the top here and then push it to where I want it as I tack it further down, and any excess gaps will be filled with weld. Okay, so that's tacked in now. Got a few gaps to work with in terms of spacing, but that will do. And I've cut out my template for this hole here. And I've marked it out on my scrap of garb repair panel, and I just need to go cut it out now. So hopefully I can tack that one in. And then I can decide how much more carried away I want to get this afternoon. Alright, I've mocked up my plate and I'm reasonably satisfied that that's going to do what I need it to do. So I'm just going to use some magnets to hold it in place, and I'm going to splooge that one into the gap as well. I reckon that will do. Time to fire the welder up. I'm going to give that a little bit of a contour at the top there. In fact, it could probably do with a little bit more of a contour. Actually no, it's just going to get shorter the more I bend it. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Alright, summary time for episode 25, and mission accomplished. I have those two patches tacked in. Now I could go ahead and weld all of that stuff while I time-lapse it through, but it's already mid-afternoon and I'd like to get this video out this evening, so I'm going to wrap it up here and ta-da! That one's done, that one's done, that one's done. The tedious job of knitting all of that together now will be something that I'll do off camera, because it'll probably take me the rest of the afternoon to stitch it all together. There's a few other odds and sods in here I'd like to address. Some small holes I'm going to try and weld up rather than patch over, and hopefully by the end of this afternoon I'll have the majority of the floor pan of the boot sorted out. Well, I'm concerned the more I dig around in here, the more holes I'll find. But for the time being, the three major issues have been addressed. And until next time, take care. Well, after much cutting and shaping, hello. Hey, come on. Hey. Come on. Come and say hello. Hey, hello. You gonna come pats? No, not sure about that. What if I just give you a pat like that? He's off.